Welcome to Human Talk, where I speak with the people shaping the future of technology. I'm your host, Liliana Muscarella. These conversations explore the human side of innovation, including values, visions, and the choices that define our digital world. Today, I'm super excited to be speaking with Violeta Ayala, a filmmaker and technologist who blends indigenous narratives with cutting edge technology to challenge the meaning of storytelling and reshape our understanding of the world. From VR animations to AI driven art, Violeta's work blurs the boundaries of past and future and invites us to decolonize ourselves and our world. Let's get started.
So my name is Violeta Ayala. I am, I don't know, I think I am, I have a lot of disciplines lately, but I am a filmmaker. I'm the first Quechua member of the academies, like of the Oscars. What it means that I vote in the Oscars about which is the best film. I'm the probably one of two Bolivians in the world, also not that are a member of the academies. I made 5 award-winning films, and also I've been working in virtual reality, augmented reality, um, artificial intelligence. So I've been doing quite a bit of a broader thing lately. Um, I my films premiere in Sundance, in Toronto, in Berlin, pretty much in a lot of film festivals, A-list in the world. I don't know if that means much. What is important that also have a lot of impact. Um, People with disabilities in Bolivia have a pension thanks to my work, La Lucha, this film that I made in 2017, I think, but it premiered a couple of years ago, and the short premiere at The Guardian, or was at The Guardian in 2018. Um, so now everybody with a severe disability in Bolivia has a pension, a monthly pension, a disability pension, and that's thanks to their fight and my work that we took it very, very far. And so for me, I belong to the Quechua people. Like many of Bolivians from the Andes, we have this very strong indigenous heritage. And so my grandfather, I come from a family of fighters. My grandfather was the head of the workers union in Bolivia, one of the founders of the work indigenous workers union of Bolivia. And yeah, like I create all the time. I think that I don't, I live to create pretty much. Like I wake up and every day I have new ideas, and not all the time I have the time to do all of my ideas, but I am I'm very curious and I love creating. And I feel like in the past I had this very, very, very heavy burden that I need to tell the stories about what's happening, about the war on drugs from the perspective of people in Bolivia. Um, I wanted to tell stories that I felt that were so important. Yet again, social media in a way liberated me. like when everybody started telling their own stories in TikTok and Instagram and like I think that for me that was a freedom that everybody can tell their own stories. I could never make tell stories as good as everybody else, right? As themselves. So I felt free, and that freedom gave me a lot of ideas of continuing doing something that was further pushing along. And I made Prison X, that is an animation um, in virtual reality. Is a game, is the foundation of the neo-Andean metaverse, pretty much. And it was all handmade in Tilbrush, handmade inside VR. I don't know, it's a little bit weird. Uh, and yeah, so that gave me that freedom, and from then on, I've been just experimenting a lot.
Mhm. That's wonderful, and I really like how you said you had this sort of artistic drive deep within you to express these stories and probably your own heritage as well. And I'm curious kind of how that influences maybe on a day-to-day basis how you tell these stories and also how you merge these stories with technology like VR or with AI, other technologies.
There is a saying, it's an African saying, but I made it my own, that says that until the jaguars tell their own story, the story of the hunt
Mm,
will always glorify the hunter. So, because it's inside me, because I grew up here and I grew up within Cochabamba, within the setting of like the countryside and the city, and uh, within, for me, the way that I am, it is a very Quechua person. So it's not like I go and think this is influencing in me. I have a very strong visual aesthetic just because this is what I like. Is this is how I see it. I don't question myself. I think that there is a lot of there a lot of people who wanna take over or find close to a culture or looking for their own cultures that were not growing up within. But that's not my case. My case is, and I respect them a lot, but my case is that I come from this culture, so I don't need to justify myself. Like, I look, what I like, what I feel, the colors that I use, how I express myself is the way that I am. And I'm also digital nomad. So that also has affected me. I have traveled since very young too, and I've been in Europe and in Australia, in the United States, in lately in Asia, and so that also has influenced the person that I am. So I'm very happy now within my own skin to say that I don't need to prove much to anybody. That
mm.
I really, I think that also we need to understand ourselves within an evolution. And
Mm,
one of the things within, it's not Quechua, but it's an Aymara philosophy. It's called the Chenko, and it's also called Chixi. Chixi is that we take everything from everywhere and then we make it our own and we change it and we adjust it in our own
mm.
way. It's a very good philosopher called Silvia Rivera Cusicanqui. She's Aymara, she's from La Paz, and I think it's very interesting that when I read her book, I was like, yeah, that the Chixi world is where I am. And I come from this Chixi world and I have all of these dualities and critical thinking embodied within me
Mhm.
because that's who I am.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's and I love this idea of yeah, taking what we are on the inside and kind of even if it's just this almost some people might see it as an aesthetic projection of something, but finding the beauty and the meaning in the meaning and the beauty, and then also taking that from inside to outside. I that's really beautiful. And maybe if you could explain a little bit more in detail like so you have all these incredible projects both film and otherwise and how would you say that they really affirm and celebrate this heritage taking this millennia long heritage and bringing it to the digital realm.
It's interesting because within the films had a very strong fighting
Mm.
attitude within, right? I made Cocaine
La
Prison
lucha.
to La Lucha, Cocaine Prison, the Bolivian case. It were changing paradigms in a moment where no one talked about this. Like,
Mhm.
like it had a very different feeling that changed with Prison X, and now it keeps changing. Still, I am a fighter. I'm always gonna fight, so that's not going to change. But I have different tools now. So they had a very, like, the impact of the films were bigger in Bolivia than anywhere else, like La Lucha and people with disabilities having today a pension, a cocaine prison that ended up an indulto for little traffickers that were like, I call them the mules. I don't call them mules, they call them mules, but drug workers, right? Like they're the tiny
Mhm.
bits. And I believe deeply that drugs should be legal. So, in a sense, I wanted to give this perspective that was so different that Mexico that was glamorizing this. I said, not in Bolivia, we don't glamorize that, and we don't, but we have a very, like the way that is controlled here, in a sense, have stopped us to have wars like drug wars. And so it was very interesting, my perspective to show that. And also criticizing at the same time the, the legal system and the overcrowded prisons, and I was challenging the system. In the Bolivian case, again, it followed a story of the Norwegian uh, kids who were caught with drugs in Bolivia, and what happened, and how it was about race and class. So
Mm-hmm.
the ones who had money, class, and were white were escaping and were freed, but the ones who were darker or had like a Latino appearance or a last name paying the price higher. And it was also about class. So it was for me very interesting to show. I filmed within mostly in Norway. The interesting thing is that was funded by the Norwegian Film Institute, or the Norwegian channel, sorry, and they stopped. They never broadcasted in Norway, and they didn't let me to broadcast in the beginning. They're making a fiction now, quite funny, but ended up winning a lot of prizes, even the audience award at the Sydney Film Festival, right? My first film again is very different. It's stolen. It's in North Africa, and it's about slavery. And then it's one of the few films that I made that was not at home, and I will tell you why. Because I believe that I'm very honest on that film. I say, look, I don't know very much. I don't understand very much. This is my story, right? I'm not trying to say this is the story of that country, but I felt like I didn't. Maybe I was young and I wasn't equipped with all the tools to tell stories from other places. I felt like that's not correct in a way for me to do it. I think it's very interesting when we turn the mirror to ourselves and our societies, and we can have bigger impact. So, but I did, and I had a lot of effect. Again, it brought a lot of attention, and the United Nations was a question for what was allowing slavery happening in that region. It's very complex. And then that all changed with Prison X again, because in Prison X was created by Bolivian artists with our colors, with creating this neo-Andean Cholaverse and world. We took ideas from Cocaine Prison. I wrote a script. I created jaguars that are blue. The characters are quite beautiful, really, really colorful, and they have a very strong idiosyncratic ways of understand. But you are one of the prisoners, so you become into yourself. So it was one of the first experiences in the world where you embody, like computing, embodying, and also you embody a character, right? And how we did it is like you look at yourself in the mirror and you start becoming inti, and then you go into this journey, right? Um, and it was during COVID. So I had the luxury to work with amazing artists because everybody was out of work. And it was complex and difficult. And for me, it gave me a way out. And that's where I started learning about 3D modeling, Blender, and then I started getting into, I was in, because I premiered Sundance, and it was considering like by the critic the best or something, and they invited me to what was called this clubhouse thing, and it was the first time I heard about Ethereum and the
Mm-hmm.
blockchain, and I was so interested, and because I was so curious, I was like, I went into like listen to so much, and I ended up having, I bought my name, I like Violetas don't eat. I ended up really reading a lot about Vitalik Buterin, his theories, and it gave me some hope. And
Mm-hmm.
I ended up like, I mean, purchasing Ethereum at the time. I had like a crypto box sell. And from then on, I understood that what was money, an illusion, is really
Mm-hmm.
money. I start questioning myself, what is all these things? I'm living between these two worlds, between um, yeah, and so yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
getting off topic.
No, that's super interesting. And I'm curious, what was like the thing that initially piqued your interest? Was it the kind of idea of, yeah, money is just an illusion and something we can create, and we can also create it, online if we want to, or were you also kind of seeing the wider applications of maybe blockchain as, an organizing system, or yeah, other tech in general? I'm just curious, what was it that really like first sparked your interest, and how it connected, I guess, to your mission of decolonizing stories and I guess world history in a way.
Yeah. it's interesting. It's an interesting question. First, I was interested in that how, like, all right, what are banks and the enormous power that banks have at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, but that's not enough, right? That's not enough to be a tech that can change things. And when I understood the power of the blockchain, I was laughing at NFTs and I was thinking, okay, we haven't come at the time to 2021 to make NFTs and few people rich. That like I understand that it's very important to have sovereignty and your own funding or whatever, but yet that's not that wasn't my interest. All right, that my interest
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in things that goes around and like and and monkeys. All right, like I'm like that. I was thinking we cannot be so evolved so much to end up in these silly things. There is more. And I started reading more
Mm,
and understanding more about the capabilities of technology for changing the current systems, changing the political systems, changing the financial systems, changing the relationships between people based on different concepts. And like I was thinking, like, uh, even then I thought, this is the end of corruption. We can actually create systems that are not corrupt based on this. Now with AI, it's a different kind of fish altogether. But at the time, I was thinking, if we can have an open blockchain, why can you like what it makes politicians powerful is the corruption, because that's what it gives them power. The moment that you
mm-hmm.
take away the corruption and we're able to vote and to do things in a different way, that's gone. That's
Yeah.
different. So that's what sparked my interest. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the capacity of uh, of creating systems that will benefit the greater good and the good things within humans. But then at the time, I also start seeing the duality, and I got really scared because I was
Scared of
thinking,
the path we're taking.
scared of the path we're taking and scared of the
Mm,
gap between
mm-hmm.
people who understand the tech and have some power. And the gap from then on to now, it grow bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see that going forward? Do you think that there's still time and there's still an opportunity to kind of reduce that gap and hopefully kind of get more people on board on the right side or the side that will lead us to a better humanity? Do you think that's still possible?
I'll always think it's possible, right? Because if not, we better just
Give up.
give up, and I'm not going to give up. So no, of
Mm-hmm.
course there is time, there is possibilities. I don't think the possibilities are in the way that people are seeing it today. I think that
Mm,
because we care so much about power in a way, and we are repeating patterns and patterns of like all the new ideas or systems that are building are still centered on masculinity and machocracies and patriarchalism, and I think that's a mistake. That's the center of everything that's happening today, all the wars and everything. So why we are repeating this in our little microcosmos? This is
mm-hmm.
something that I don't agree with. I think that we need to build systems who have a big. It's not a boys club, right? I don't want to be part of a boys club. Who cares? I don't think not even boys want to be part of a boys club. I think that of a different way of building, I think men are the ones who will
Yeah,
benefit the most because they don't have to go on competing so much with each other.
yeah,
So in a way, there is still hope, and will always, I think, be hope. But we need to question ourselves and be much more critical thinkers of
yeah.
what we're building, and we need to like sacrifices and having an idea. Like if you get really crazy of like per se in crypto and you just care about changing money and making money, then your life is finished. Like I don't want that. That's boring. Like I can do it a little bit for sovereignty or for having my own money. The word
Yeah.
sovereignty is also a little bit ugly these days because it's being co-opted in a bad way. So I don't want to use it, but to have independence, to say the thing is that
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that once you that once this big once money and power matters more than what is more powerful of having a better system, a better world, and don't have to worry about injustices. Like,
Yeah.
don't have to worry about people stealing from you because everybody has something. So I think that we are facing probably one of the biggest public crises in this tech revolution that we're living. Um,
Mm.
like Israel attacks Iran, Iran attacks back, and we are getting into a terrible war. We are already living in a very difficult time, and I think we need to be conscious about what's happening,
Hmm.
and we need to look. Um, we're all gonna die one day, and uh, maybe everything that I tried didn't work, but I'm gonna die happy thinking that I tried and I had so much fun trying it, and I lived my life fully. And when I go to sleep, I'm happy, and when I
Yeah.
wake up, I'm happy, because I do have this inner fire, and I think that that's what we're building, right?
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think especially like you're saying, um, how we've been there and done that as far as having a boys club, as you called it. We're kind of already in the mess broadly that we're in today because of this, yeah, these patriarchal systems, exclusion, capital that actually doesn't serve, the common good. And I think it's interesting as well, like this fight that you're kind of fighting, but in a way that you feel accomplished. And I think a lot of people in, at least in the community that we have, like around human tech, luckily we have so many people who are really using their skills and interests to try to build a new system that's actually better, learning from mistakes. So I'm curious what you see as the role of art and culture generally in kind of guiding this trajectory and hopefully building systems that are better and rejecting technology that is exploitative. How do you see maybe your art or just art and community and culture in general contributing to that?
I think life we're going through this very difficult period, and we all repeating patterns, and there is very few things that are really exceptional, like,
Mm.
because we are overwhelmed by images, and we're overwhelmed by sound, and we're by overwhelmed by social media, and this overwhelmed of everything, it puts us in a place where our brains are working different, right? We need to understand the big impact of artificial intelligence. I just read something that said that now that we don't write the things anymore, or they didn't study the MIT about that, our brains are not as good as they used to be, or something. I will argue
Mm.
that. I will argue that because when we start driving, we lose the ability of running fast because we don't need it, right? When a calculator came, we lose the ability of doing maths very fast because a calculator came. I think that there will be a very different way of understanding the world and what intelligence is. Until now, intelligence was to recognize patterns. That was how we, in the past, was memory. Then memory was replaced by computers. Then
Mhm.
memory was not a trait of intelligence anymore, right? And recognizing patterns became the trait of intelligence today. I think that's going to change again at this moment in time to creativity and community and divergent thinking. And there are people who can be divergent thinkers and creators and have very special way of understanding the world, but they are people. But how we get to that divergent thinking is by having very different people coming together, like by communities coming together. They give us this divergent thinking, like a lot of people coming from different backgrounds, and interdisciplinary work will be very, very key for what's next. So what is an artist is going to change. If it's not going to change, it's going to disappear. What is film is going to change. If no, it doesn't change, it's going to disappear. Like anywhere and everywhere in evolution, I think that we're going to question ourselves how big we believe and what we believe was intelligence, right? I think this is what's happening. I believe that this is a time where artists and poets need to understand coding and need to understand science, and scientists have to become artists and poets. And we all copy so much, and it's a lot of noise coming. And I think real art is going to start emerging again because it's of so much noise. Only only like a different concept of art will come, right?
Yeah.
um, so this is how I see it. So I see it, we have to approach it in a very, very different way, and we need to think about not punishing the use of artificial intelligence, and not punishing, but letting people understand why should you use it. When AI first came, I was freaked out about. I was thinking, my first thought was, this is gonna make stupid people really stupid, and it's gonna give some people a lot of power, and it's happening because AI uses you as much as you use it. But then it's a different concept of what you understand, right? Yeah, maybe we're going to lose a way of writing, but writing is not everything. Like,
Mm.
again, LLMs, large language models, are not artificial intelligence. That's stupid. Like, books are just a little part of how we understand the world. Like, our visual cortex processes so much, and uh, how we listen, our instincts, how we see people, how and also when we co-create with others, you don't co-create because you cannot do it on your own. Of course, you cannot do it on your own, but we like to be with people. We like to have these feelings. We like to like, what we can do together is different than what I can do alone. And I want to work in a way that I love working on my own, and I love doing things on my own, but I also like to work with others because we can bring different perspectives and different things. And I think that um, all of this of what is art is going to change. I hope that stop being this elitism in art, and I hope that stop being this elitism in science. And I think that we will need to redefine all of these concepts, and we're going to come with new things, and we're going to look back and say, oh, at the time that was how it was done, and today that's what is done. So I think that a lot of things will change. So I don't have
Mm.
specific how art could inform. I think we all have to, everything can inform everything. And
Yeah.
I think that we need to think when we're designing this human tech about the people who clean the streets, about the people who about the workers who maybe won't have a say in how this is being developed, but they're going to be affected. We're going to think about the people selling in the markets, the farmers. We must think about, it's our responsibility to think about everyone in this chain, not just uh, think about artists. If you think about it, like it's just a very few group of people. We start need to think about everybody, doctors, nurses, um, I don't know, little kids, teachers. What is the impact of all of this in teachers? How education will change? Like, I'm thinking, my daughter goes to school now just because um, she needs to have friends and have this social side. Like, whatever she learns there, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, because she's learning so much outside that. Whatever she needs something, she goes online and learns it. So uh,
Mm.
she's learning to have relationships with people, and she's learning to accept and understand others more than anything. That's the biggest
Mm.
thing that she's learning at school at the moment, is these
Yeah.
social relationships. That, because I also feel that we're going from Homo sapiens, or whatever, Homo should be Homo too, right? Anyway, Homo sapiens to Homo technologicus. Like, you remember,
Mm.
we went from different species. I think that
Mm-hmm.
today we're going from Homo sapiens to Homo technologicus, and
Yeah.
we will have to develop different skills to survive, that are so different as what the Homo sapiens. We are still Homo sapiens, but the Homo technologicus will have to develop such a different skills than the Homo
Yeah.
sapiens to continue in this. The thing is,
Mm.
this is only a little dot in time.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can see kind of things changing in real time, and I totally agree. I think our structures, the systems that we've built have to change. I think it's important that they change, but there's also a little bit of yeah, it's a little bit nerve wracking as well. But I think it's interesting, and you talked about this a few minutes ago and then just now as well, kind of this idea of what's going to be important no matter how we do evolve, no matter how we do kind of connect or utilize technology for better or for worse. There's always this sort of community drive or desire for connection. And I think it's interesting today. I think people who are a bit afraid of technology or don't understand it, there's some people who will kind of try to or want say they want to get back to traditional values and like disconnecting from technology completely, and I'm not sure whether that's really possible. And I also think that it kind of discounts like a lot of indigenous technologies systems, as well as yeah, like ancient civilizations had a lot of technologies that we kind of dismiss as, at least as the global north today. But I'm curious what you think, or what you think that looks like, as far as kind of maybe finding this happy medium and making sure that we are able to connect as communities, whether online or in person, and maybe as well your experience specifically in your own Quechua community, or with other indigenous communities.
I think community also is a very difficult word because I think people don't understand that community means responsibility. Being part of a
Mm.
community is not so easy. It's actually a pain sometimes. I come from because I grew up in a very community centered culture, right? And I feel like I don't have a solo time in Bolivia. Now a little bit more, but because I set up boundaries. But honestly, I don't have solo time. Like I have to do because I'm part of a community. So community means responsibility. You are responsible for people in your community and the decisions that affect, and they are responsible for your well-being. So we are responsible for the well-being of others. That's the first line of why we form societies. So the moment that we don't care about others, we just care about us, means that we are really going backwards, not forwards, right? Because, and that's what's happening. The individualistic societies have made us believe that we didn't need anybody, and then we became deeply
Mhm.
unhappy as humans. Um, Look, there is a very, of course we are afraid. Like it's crazy, we don't even know. Like people tell me I know what's going to happen, I think that they're bullshit artists. Like no one knows what's going to happen because we can predict how humans and how societies will take different things, right? We cannot program it and say there's gonna, like we can do a lot to to program algorithms to impact
Mm.
humans, but in real terms we can't program human behavior of people's behavior, right? I think so. I understand how people are afraid, and honestly, today we live longer than ever. Today we are more of us on Earth for good or for bad because we got rid of a lot of other species to be here. Okay, however, like if you see, like even 50 years ago people used to die at 70 or 60. Now today, like you're an old person, now today we are extending our life. So think about all of that evolution that has happened to today, not for everybody but majority of the countries including Bolivia. We have a high life expectancy today than ever. Quechua, more Aymara culture are incredibly. Um, the evolution of our culture has been amazing in a ways of the potatoes, all the food engineering that come from the Andes. It's
Mhm.
like it's not a potato just grow on the thing. It's an engineer process that happens
Mhm.
over millennia. So you
Mhm.
can have potatoes growing in the mountains where there's no water. How the terraces were like designed. I think that we don't. That's technology, and technology
Mhm.
that help everyone. Yet there is not an inventor of that technology. There is not. I cannot tell you a name, and I'm glad that I can because it shows our cultural nature of things. I don't care about
Mhm.
who it was. And I think that this is kind of important to understand. Astronomy, we believe that we have a very different way of understanding time. Like I will tell you, mostly from what is left, right? It's not the how I live today, but we have the kai pacha, that is the way that we are here and now, the uku pacha that is underneath, and the Hanan Pacha, that is everything, but it's everything that we know and we understand, but we cannot affect, like the planets, like the sun, like the moon. We don't have this idea of God or things that we don't see, all right? It's everything that we see, but we cannot affect. That's the Kai Pacha for us. And the Uku Pacha is where the dead and the newborn are there, and all of this underneath of us. And also in Quechua culture, the future is in your back because you can see it, and the past is in front of you because you already saw what happened in the past. So it's a very different way of concept of time. Of course, we have been colonized, and all of this is mixed of everything today. So I believe that we we have this fascination with aliens and and Mars and different worlds, and we think that when filmmakers come from other countries, or the filmmakers who are wealthy or whiter, not even wealthy, because that's also an old. We have a lot of money. We have a very different social classes within the Quechuas and Aymaras, and we have a lot of us who have a lot of money. So it's not about money then, but it's about power. And the ones who, the whiter filmmakers who get to tell stories, they make up these ideas on their own about anthropological ways of not understanding our our present and future. And yet the indigenous creators here, we're creating in Blender, we are making we have this very interesting way of seeing the future and creating these neo-Andean ways. And so we laugh about these these anthropological views when we are actually daring to imagine a different, our own futures. And we are fascinated, especially the Aymaras more than the Quechuas, fascinated with the space. I'm fascinated with the stars. I'm fascinated with the different way of understanding the world. So I think that there is a lot of in food. There is a lot of technologies in the things that we eat that come from the Andes, but also from other indigenous cultures. There is a lot of things that are very futuristic in a way. And maybe we did it because we had a very strong relationship with the land and surviving in the land. You imagine how difficult must have been the Andes to survive, and how we had to learn to live with this land. And then ourselves, we don't understand the Amazon. So we believe that the same rules of the Andes, the Andean people, we go and colonize the Amazonia and are destroying it because we don't understand that the relationship for the evolution of the Amazon and the jungle is completely different of the Andes that is bare. You know what I mean? Um, like, I'm from Cochabamba. I'm from a city in the mountains. I barely see insects in my life. Like and when I see an insect, I want to die because I don't have this relationship with like. And you go 3 hours away from here in the middle of the jungle, and it's all full of everything alive, including jaguars and geckos and everything. And you're like, oh, I come from the Andes, right? My relationship with land is totally different. I'm used to be in this place with nothing that bothers me. Was always like this. I'm not sure. Maybe we drove everything away. I don't know. Like, but it was so much. I don't think that we made the land. I think the land make us. And at the end of the day, like if we disappear, this is gonna become something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's another example of kind of fear of the unknown, but also whether it's insects or whether it's, yeah, kind of the future that we don't know if we'll even be here to be part of it. But that was actually my next question. I want to ask more because I love the image of in the Aymara culture, the past being in front of you because you could see it, and then the future being behind you. And I'm curious how you feel like that could be incorporated, or maybe is in today's world actually being incorporated into kind of shaping our technological future. How does that maybe bring a unique perspective or bring unique traits to these conversations that we're having around technology? And maybe as a kind of sub question to that as well, if you could redesign the internet, the world we live in, the systems that we have from that maybe perspective, what do you think it would look and feel like?
Okay. It's the Andean way of understanding the future and the past. I think it's also circular, like everything is followed
Mm,
like a cataclysm event by piece by cataclysm by piece. And one of the things that I feel like at the moment, everything is seen in a very shorter term, and people see design everything for my own good or things that I'm gonna see, don't understanding that seeing you have to see further. So I think that everything is
mm,
also movies are beginning, middle, and end. This is the way of Western concept of time. If we will go into a different concept of time, I will ask people to look at things in a circular way, in a designing technology that is circular, that and also understanding that you cannot control everything, and
mm,
but you are also responsible of everything that you see. So be responsible for what you see and understand your responsibility in what you see, but also think that you only a, a wrinkle in time.
mm,
Okay, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because whatever one person does is not going to change the world. They tricked us. They made us believe that we had this power, especially this is the core of machocracy and
yeah.
patriarchies, that one man, like, look, you know what I mean? This idea of one government, one man changing the world, one caudillo, it's wrong. It's not happening. Things change when a lot of people change. Things change when we
Mm,
all change our attitudes. So I think that people need to really think about that and really think
mm,
about we are a wrinkle of time. I think we need to be aware of our own irrelevance. We are irrelevant at the end of the day, and all the data that we create, it might go to a hole, a black hole in the future, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that we're not here and we shouldn't
mm,
have a life. Means that we need to be aware of our own grandiosity. All right. I feel like if I had
mm,
to redesign this, I would redesign it in a circular way to understand everything that has happened in the past. So we maybe don't repeat the same mistakes. And there, I don't know if what we're gonna create is gonna be better, but at least we should dare to have this very strong philosophical point of view and ideological point of view of at least if I'm going to design, I'm not going to design things that I know they won't work. And I'm going to design things that they haven't been done. But if they work, then I will be a step ahead. If they don't work, I'm still at the same time. I haven't lost
mm.
anything. My energy, come on, like don't be so self-centered about your energy. You know what I mean? Like forget about that. But be very aware of what we design from now forward needs to be things that are different. If they work, well. If they don't, okay, we try something
Mm,
else. Yet
mhm.
don't be so self centered on this, right? So I
Yeah.
think that we need to think about that, look at the past and look at the future and decide things in a much more circular way and think about longer terms. Don't look at the world as tomorrow. Think about a longer period of things that you're doing. And the internet, God, the internet could have been so much and ended up in this horrible but amazing. I don't know. I think centralization is the problem. I
Mhm,
think centralization is one of the biggest problems. And actually, because of the old time Greek culture was centralized, it was the beginning of the destruction of the end. And I think that we're going to
mm,
see that. I think centralization is always a point where things are going to go really bad,
Mm.
because things cannot be in the power of a few. So I think that the internet from now needs to be, we need to fight for decentralization. We need to fight that we are all part of this. Um, and also being aware of our need as humans to go outside, to breathe, to walk. I'm saying it to myself, yeah, because I could live online very happy. Like,
Mm.
I love virtual reality and I use it a lot, so I could live online very happy. But then I need also to understand my surroundings and what is around me, and understand the little things that make me happy as a human. And it might change, but while it lasts, I think at least, and don't be so fatalistic about it. Understand that we can change things. We have the power always. Always, always we have the power to change things. Like,
Mhm.
the moment that we died is when maybe we still have the power to change things, because everything that we said, everything that we built, everything that we created and others create over what we create, that will keep changing things. So we need to
Mm.
think about, I'm creating this, thinking that what others will create better on top of what I create, and better on top of what I create. And and then these ideas of copyright and selfishness will be out, because it's sad. It's sad to be all the. Can you imagine to be all the time thinking that somebody was going to steal something from you? When they tell me about my own ideas, I say, if people steal it, I'm much more happier, because it means that my idea was good. Like, can you imagine me patrolling and going after people who stole my words or my ideas? That's so pity. That doesn't make me a creator. I'm too busy creating the next thing. I don't have time to think. So let's really build together as a community, but understanding what community means, respecting the differences. We can't say all we all peace and and look. No, we need to be able to understand others in all of their complexity. And the power of communication is not a PowerPoint presentation that I have to convince you of my idea. The power of communication is that I have the same power of convince you of my idea as you have the power to convince me of your idea. And maybe then I can change, or maybe we can both come to a new idea together that will be better than
Mm.
mine or yours, or will be different.
Mm. Yeah, so I love these dualities that you're pointing out. I think there were like six or seven just in that response, and it's so interesting and such a beautiful world building sort of exercise. I think even if maybe we're not quite there yet with this world, this sort of like circular systems, and almost like you were saying, ideas on top of ideas, and how it's the same with civilizations on top of civilizations. And I think also just having that sense of, okay, maybe it is all futile, or maybe it is maybe we don't have control over certain things, but it's about having this sort of individual purpose and community focused, I guess, purpose as well, to build the world that we do want. So that's just, yeah, really beautiful. And I'm wondering as well, what are there other projects that are out there today that you think are kind of already enacting or embodying this worldview? Maybe it's like young, like indigenous technologists or artists who are really engaging with, I don't know, VR, but in a way to appreciate, real nature, or kind of engaging in these different dualities. And yeah, how does this tie in with this vision that you just described?
There is a lot happening out there that I don't know of, and I'm glad that I don't. There
Mm.
is a lot happening that inspires me every day that I see it. Um, it's a lot of things people are building. There is also this fear of standardization. To me, standardization is the end of creativity. I don't believe in standardizations. Of course, I do believe in standardizations of 3D models. That's a pain. Like, the fact that we have to spend so much time in standardizing to create a world is hard. But saying that, I think standardization will be the end of creativity, not AI, no, like standardization. So there is so much happening out there. There is so much so much things that people are building, and there is more creativity, or not creativity, more expression today than ever online that we can see from a lot of creators um, in all of our social networks. And all of the social networks that we don't even know. I just got into WeChat because I'm going to China. I've been invited to the biggest AR and metaverse computational creativity center, and I'm
Mm.
flying on Sunday. And I had to go and say, "Oh, I already been in China once, but just on the airport, and I couldn't communicate with anybody. So now I know. I got WeChat, and it's a whole world inside. It's like, oh, okay. I didn't even know it existed, right? I knew it existed,
Wow.
but I didn't know the dimension of it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that when we go to other places, we need to understand that what the beauty for other places is that I was thinking, debating on myself, should I get a VPN or not? Maybe if I don't get a VPN, just I got WeChat, and the people that I care of have WeChat. I'm telling them to communicate, I'm okay, I'm fine. It will
Mm-hmm.
give me the possibility of really fully immersing that world that otherwise, if I'm still connected to my networks, I won't. So maybe I'm not going to get a VPN and really let myself free and see free of AI, free of everything for this period of time, and I can just really take it all. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
how I created Lasa Witches, the grandmothers, um, with AI, because I went to my grandmother's town, grandfather's town, and I really fully immersed about how people would have been. I came back to the city and I started writing, and then I prompted, and then I created these grandmothers, this series of grandmothers, the portraits of who would have been our ancestors, and a dignification of my own grandmothers, right? Because we didn't have photographs, and the photographs were always looking down at us as indigenous people. We're ugly, we we are poor, and so I wanted to just change that, and that gave me the possibility of opening. So maybe I'll do that, and I will try to give myself this possibility of opening myself to
Mm-hmm.
to a different world, and I want to just go with my eyes closed, so like a little baby, I wake up again, I'm seeing this world, and I want to understand this. So we need to give ourselves these possibilities of of understanding, and it's a lot of things happening at the moment. Here in my town in Cochabamba, we have a center called El Martadero, where I first have lots of witches, and I do a lot of whenever I want to do something, I go there and people just come and see us. And it's a lot of building. It's an amazing community center that is not so centered in is art, but it's very futuristic in a way that we had like the Japanese cultural week last week or one day, and then we have Yachta Rock soon, and then it's so many things happening and so many clubs from how do you call this, what when you go over buildings, I don't remember. Okay, but it's very physical work, and then you have the
Okay.
hack lab there, and then you have the
Mm.
break dancers, and then you have the old ladies that make mosaic things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a very interesting view of what a center should be. Like the Pompidou should become like this if it's not gonna die. Like you need to understand, take your very, very limited view of art as like a
Mm.
picture, and start thinking about, no one will tell me, no one can ever tell me that all the weaving that my grandmother's done, and all the weaving that was given to us, even though with everything that was destroyed by colonization, like the quipus, but I have no doubt that my ancestors have left all of these colors and weaving for me to one day understand, and always not just feel
Mm.
warmed by it, but understand the bigger technological knowledge that I had, and I can build over the weaving. And it's my role to go and figure it out in a much more abstract way. And
Mm.
like, this is not a casualty, and no one tell me that that's not art. And I don't know the names. They're no Leonardo's, they're no Michelangelo's, I don't know,
Mm.
and it doesn't matter. What it matters is how was weaved, and that a lot of women knew how to do it, and these textures that we have today. This is what it matters.
Yeah. That's so beautiful and such a beautiful image to end on, like almost conversing and engaging with your history and your ancestors via whether it's art or technology, maybe who's to say. But yeah, I think that that about covers it. Thank you so much for taking the time today. This was an amazing conversation. I feel like I just had a therapy session. I'm going to be thinking about this quite a lot, and I know others will too. But I did want to give you a couple minutes if there's any like upcoming projects, or if you want to mention your website or anything like that. We can be sure to include it in the final version of this.
Yeah. So I have my group's website or my communities, whatever, the people I work with, called unitednotions.film. And my own website is violetayala.com. It's a bit crazy and fun, but I'm going to keep renovating it. I love to create things
No,
all
I
the
saw
time.
it. I love it. I recommend everyone look at it. It's really amazing.
Um, Yeah, what I'm working on, I'm always experimenting. So at the moment, I'm working a lot with robotics. I think that I have this fascination about embodied computing, and I'm also creating things with my hands. So I do like this, and I play
Mm.
music, and I can have 3D animals coming out of my hands uh, without a VR headset. I think that within VR, I think that software is getting here, but hardware is not here yet.
Mm.
So no, we're not made to go around with this massive things on our. No, it's gonna be different, but it's so much it's evolving in terms of computational creativity, and I think that people need to just really let it go and experiment. And yeah, I'm
Mm.
working a lot on. I'm having my exhibition in China now. It's gonna be there for 2 months, but of course I'm only going to open it and give a talk, and then I'm gonna come back, and then Yasmin Hiti, the roboticist that I'm work with, is coming, and we inviting a few people here, and we're gonna do a little session of 3 weeks of co-creation. I don't know what's gonna come out of it, but we're working towards Hack the Jaguars, and this is a project that we've been presenting in Paris, in Copenhagen, and we've been invited to other places, and it's growing, and it's a digital robot, but it's gonna become one day a physical robot, more than a human robot that represents the Amazon, and with all of the destruction that happens in the Amazon. And the idea is that we will
Mm.
train her so she can represent herself in court against humans, because in Bolivia we have Mother Earth has rights. I think that
Yeah.
is very interesting if we can think about more than human technology. I think humans were so self-centered, but we're not unique, and I think that we have responsibility for all the jaguars are apex animals, and if they die, all the food chain is going to change about fishes and everything, because they are the ones who eat the crocodiles, and that's
Mm.
why you can have fish, and we can have fish in the rivers, right? Also about the Incas, for a reason, never touched the Amazon, not because they were not colonizers, not because they were not they didn't have these aspirations, because maybe they understood at some point that it wasn't, if the only way we're going to have water and rain in the Andes, if it's 3 hours from here, we let that grow wild. So it
Yeah.
brings us water. Now this is changing very, and so I
Mm.
want to at least bring attention and knowledge about how can we design this in a different way. Again, in Bolivia, we have one of the biggest lithium mines in the world, and yet we don't have computational resources. And I think
Mm.
that all of these paradigms need to change in a way. And I think that there are different ways of doing things. I believe that people in my country were really, really creative because of the need of survival. It's just a
Yeah.
very different way. Here at the moment, um, you know, Binance is how we're doing all of our exchange, because we never trust the government, and we never
Yeah.
trust the banks. We actually doing all of our
Mm.
transactions. 300,000 people in Bolivia are now just using Binance for transactions. Yet you say
Wow.
300,000 is not much, but we're only 11 million people, and it's a third. Is it? I think it's 20% of the working force. So
Mm.
it's very interesting what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we cannot think about developing different systems and human systems just focusing on the global north. We have to understand that there are other places that it can jump maybe things that didn't work somewhere else to go to
Yeah.
something better. Um,
Leapfrogging. Mm-hmm.
and I think that also, I mean, that we need to understand and go to other places and have more. I want to do a lot of co-creation.
Mm-hmm.
Today we have the computational capacity to do things very fast. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to invite people all the time. I don't have the resources, but if I had, I will invite people uh, always to come and co-create together, and then having shows of what we co-create together, and then
Yeah.
that they can go and co-create with others and others and others, right? I
Mm.
believe in open sourcing everything in GitHub. I believe that that power of co-creating something amazing, or not amazing, but something together, is what will save our creativity, because of the divergent thinking and because of the standardization. And the only way we can fight that is by co-creating together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where I want to make this lab of computational creativity, but based on interdisciplinary work and co-creation at its core, and
Yeah.
that and we can get together 3 weeks, do projects that are kind of uh, and then show that to others. So
Mm-hmm.
take this into different museums and spaces, and then also keep building with what others will create, so we can create an ecosystem of you know everyone is creative in a different way. If we
Yeah.
were not creative, we will be dead, right? Like, we are all creative, but we need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that that has to win over this damn drill competition, money making
Mm-hmm.
exercise. That for me is the end of humanity. It's like, you're not going to evolve if we continue like this. That's the end of evolution altogether.
Yeah.
We're going towards that. Let's fight it, but let's not fight it just with words. Let's fight it with actions. Let's show that we can co-create together. We don't need more crypto conferences where I am the man and talks for an hour of a group of people who are just deadly boring. It's not just crypto, academic conference, film festivals,
Yeah.
everything. It's so boring. We need to just use all of the possibilities today of co-creating something that is much more engaging and much more, and make us believe in the good of humans, because we are here because of the good of humans, and when the bad of humans will win, we'll disappear. So it's up to us
Yep.
which side we will wanna keep going. If you think about it, Homo sapiens, we've been here for such a short time. The Neanderthal, other type of men, live longer than us, and we believe we're so great. We're not. And we
Mm.
have to understand that what is our responsibility if it's going to be a next. If not, it's okay too. Like, really, everything is going to become nothing, and the world will regenerate itself like other planets do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We
it's
won't
just,
be there to see it, but
let's
that's all right.
yeah, let's not. I don't want wars. Look, it drives me crazy that we running into wars, that we think that killing children in Palestine like this is gonna make others happy or safe. You're tricking yourself if you're doing that. Like, you're really tricking yourself. Let's build something where we know that wars make us deeply unhappy, all of us, harm us all. So why should we try to fight for the rather than for the greater good than from the greater harm? Just stop that. Really, like, let's
Yeah.
stop that, and let's build within our little ecosystems, like little ants that we are, because we're like little ants, at least in our ant nest. I don't know how you call it.
Mm-hmm.
At least there, let's build with purpose, with
Yeah.
care, and then maybe that little thing, like a spider net, maybe we can keep growing and others can jump on our net, and others can be a little bit. So if we think like this,
Yeah.
like our effect on ourselves and others will be greater than if we think that we can save the world. Is
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful thought to end on, and I love bringing back those insects that you said you weren't used to, and now we can actually learn from the world around us and bringing that the duality of nature and tech together again. So yeah, amazing note to end on. Thank you so much again for your time, Violeta. It was really nice to spend some more time speaking with you, and looking forward to seeing your next projects and hopefully seeing you pass through Paris.